what that you know what that feels like. But I think that first project taught me just so much about being resilient and hustling my way through it, that I ended up buying my second and my third. And so since that first project, I have now flipped over 50 single family homes. And I started to amass a rental portfolio of 2 to 4 unit multifamily buildings. So I buy them distressed, always value add, and I am able to cash out, refinance out of the whole thing, and then still hold it and cash flow from it. Somewhere along the way, back, flipping homes, I started to do other things like, I once bought a house and it came on a large lot. And so I ended up subdividing it, turned that into $1 million profit, but it did take 4 years. And so, like that just teaches you a lot about delayed gratification and just, having to break through all of those hurdles that come your way. I've also done many additions where I've actually increased square footage of a house, where I've put in like 1,200 square feet on top of a 3,500 square foot existing house, creating triplexes, converting triplex to fiveplexes. It's just been a lot of fun and really active investing. And now I'm at this other point in my career where I'm like, okay, I can continue to do what I want, with this just fix and flip, or I could go into syndications and larger multifamily. And that kind of got me excited about just multifamily syndications. And about a year ago, I started researching projects and finally found an operator that I'm really excited to partner with. And I'm about to do my first multifamily syndication. It's a 30-plex or $30 million deal in Orlando, Florida. It's 130 units. And we're going to buy it. We're going to, fix up all these units. And it's not a massive value add play. It's pretty good looking building already, but it's dated. And so we're just going to fix it up and really bring it to current, like 2021 modernization. And so I am doing my first capital raise. I'm setting up my first fund. And, it's just been a different kind of challenge. And it's been really quite exciting. I am also under contract to buy my first multifamily deal, or my commercial multifamily deal. And I'm buying like a 10-plex in just outside of Seattle. And what I'm going to say is that I am just a girl from moved here from India in 2014, and I didn't grow up here. I didn't come here with money, and I was able to really work through my life, just building and amassing this portfolio now. And I think it's been made possible. Sorry, you had a question? Okay. Yeah, I think it's just been made possible because every day I show up to work and I'm like, I'm going to give it my best and give it my all. So I'd love for you to tell me in the chat, like, are you guys new to investing? Have you been at it a long time? And if so, like, are you in residential or commercial? If you could just put it in the chat, I'd love to see, what my audience does and speak to that more. So we can start with Jordan. Jordan, what do you do?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself for a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, for my W-2, I work for a commercial finance bank. We give out loans for multifamily and senior living facilities. As far as investing, my experience is in a syndication as a GP. We closed on that 2 years ago. And then about a year ago, To date, I purchased a duplex here in Columbus that I'm doing a burr on.
Very cool. Okay, so Jaden says new 19 years old, looking for 2 to 4 residents and 5 to 20 to partner. I love it, Jaden. Like if I knew or if I was privy to real estate investing when I was 19, you know, it would have been amazing. So I commend you for being here and learning. And it's never too early to start. It's never too late to start. Ryan says he bought his first duplex a few months ago and needs a reno. Very cool. Kwame is another 19-year-old or 20-year-old. It's really fascinating for me that there's so much. It's, a lot of people, like a lot of awareness is now on building long-term wealth, and there's podcasts and BiggerPockets and, talking about how to grow your wealth, how to burn rental properties. And it's pretty cool that I see these younger kids wanting to get into real estate. I was just on the BiggerPockets podcast, and then after the podcast, the most number of people that actually reached out to me were in their early 20s. And I was like, wow, like, if only like I was interested or looking at real estate back when I was 20 years old, like that would have been pretty fascinating. um so like Matt said, hey, come up here and talk and share your story, which I'd love to do. And because you guys are like maybe just starting out looking for your first deal, I can kind of go through some of my own shortcomings in that the very first couple of deals that I did. um Wendy says she's a new investor, has a house hack and a single family home, also out of state from California. Very cool. I have to tell you, Wendy, my first out of state property has been such a train wreck for me. Starting with my property management team, they were just, neglecting the property. We had to basically not evict someone, but we had to give them cash to like relocate them because they were just, took advantage of the property for a whole year and didn't pay rent. So out of state is a little bit challenging from what I can see, but it's amazing that people can make it work. Um, so going back to my first deal, I made so many mistakes on that deal, and I can tell you, I have learned so much from just doing that deal. First of all, I bought that deal. It was in a really cool neighborhood in Seattle, and I bought it for. It was a single family distressed home. I bought it for 375. Um, and the wholesaler that brought it to me basically said that you have to buy it sight unseen, like you can't go inside and walk the property. And so that's what I did. And don't ever do that. If you haven't bought a property, please always make sure to walk the property inside and make sure you know exactly what that scope of work involves. I made the mistake of just trusting the wholesaler, because I was like, I just wanted my first property so bad that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do anything. And so, okay, Kuber says he's also new to real estate investing, got a new rental property a few months ago and looking for a duplex or multifamily property. Awesome. Yeah. Um, so I just trusted the wholesaler and took his word for how much the renovation was going to cost. And they said it was going to cost about 60K. And so we closed on the property. I walked it, and I basically interviewed 14 contractors because I didn't have a contractor back then. But I interviewed 14 contractors, and I had varying bids all the way from 90,000 to 120,000. So it was not 60K. I had basically, bought a super big fixer that I had no experience with. Um, and so I ended up just, holding it, fixing it. It took way longer than we had hoped. But luckily for me, the market had appreciated, and we thought we were going to sell it for about 475. I ended up listing for 599 or 499 and selling it for 505. So it could have been quite the tragic loss, but luckily for me, I was actually just able to get by, making a loss of 5 grand. So that first deal, it was kind of disheartening. But then immediately after that, I bought my second deal and I made like a 35K profit. And I was like, okay, this actually works. Right. So um, I don't, what is the Columbus market like? Can someone tell me? Is it super hot? Are you able to find deals?
Hi, if you don't mind, this is Cooper. A quick question, right?
Yeah.
So for someone new like me, right? As you know, the market is like super hot right now. It's like
Yeah.
a very hot sellers market. So what suggestion do you have for someone like me trying to get into real estate in this market?
Yeah. You know, the market is hot, and like what I tell real estate investors in my own market is, if you're just getting in, it is kind of a daunting time to get in because we're at such a high, like these are the highest prices I've ever seen in Seattle. So certainly be cautious. Second, I would suggest partnering with a more experienced and seasoned investor in your market. Whether it is getting on their syndication list and then doing, just as an LP, being part of their deal, learning from them. But also if you are able to, either bring the money or bring the deal, I would say just partner with someone more experienced than you, someone that has done this for the last, I don't know, 5-7 years, because then they can kind of show you the ropes and how to buy, how to fix up, how to exit the property. But certainly it is a challenging time to do that right now. uh, Hold on one second. But having said that, I have to tell you, okay, Mark says retired limited partner in multifamily in 4 states, looking into co-sponsorships as my next phase. Awesome, Mark. Um, Having said that, I know this is a tough market, and I have to tell you a little story about what happened in February this year. So, as real estate markets are cyclical, and February and March are the hottest times to sell, or to buy, because it's like a spring market. Everybody's out looking. And so I was on a virtual meetup exactly like this one. It was a local Seattle meetup, and I was in between meetings, and I said, okay, let me just stop by for like 10 minutes and see what this meetup is about. I ended up going to this meeting, to this Zoom meetup. It's just exactly like this. And I met a wholesaler there that was presenting a deal. Now, I have worked with this wholesaler before. And so I knew that if he had a deal, it was going to be a good one because I trusted him and I had confidence in him. And so he's going through this deal. It was a single family home, it was on a 3,000 square foot lot. It was by the airport, in a little city called Burien. And he said basically just clean it up, rent it out, hold it for about 3 years, and then flip it to a builder. Because the homes right next door were all modern boxes and they were all new builds. Right. So I was like, interesting. And then I was in my head, I was thinking, okay, this property should cost about 350 to 400 to buy. And wholesaler was then like, yeah, and then the price of this property is 200 grand. And I was like, what, 200? And there was 36 people on this call, and nobody said anything about wanting to buy this property. And I was like, wow, like, why isn't anyone stepping up? Right. And so I instantly texted the broker and I said, look, I'll buy it from you, just send it over to me. And so in about 6 hours from then, we were under contract and I was buying this property. And I did a walkthrough, I did a full inspection. There was nothing major. We closed on it in about 2 weeks. I bought it all cash. And then my property manager was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty cute property, we can rent it for about 2200. And I was like, what? That's crazy, because I thought the rent was not going to be more than 1500. And sure enough, the day after he listed it for rent, we were pending, or we had rented it for 2350, which is insane. And then I got a cash out refinance on the property, and the appraisal came in at 350. So Kuber, like, I literally bought that house on a Zoom meeting just like this.
Mhm.
So yes, the market is hot, but at the same time, if you're out looking and you know your numbers and you know your market and you know what pockets would, sell for what, then you're sure you should be able to take advantage of deals that no one else is. um so that's my story about buying a house literally in one of the hottest times in the hottest markets in the country. Awesome. um any other questions? Okay, you can just put your questions in the chat when you have them. um So going into that, like I always love talking about exit strategies, because there's so many different kinds of exits that you can have. What funding sources? Okay, perfect. Ryan, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. So I have personally taken advantage of fix and flip, BRRRRs, assisted living, land subdivisions, additions, rooming houses, Airbnb, so short-term rentals, and let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, that's like 7 different strategies right there. So, when you're looking for those first couple of deals, always make sure that you're also thinking about what your exit could be. And that's going to help you look or analyze the deal in a different light. So going into Ryan's question about funding, right? It's a good one. It's a really good one, because when you're starting out, you don't have too much street credit, like you don't have too much street credit, and it's important to look at all your different funding options. So when I first started out, the way that I was able to buy my property is A, I took a HELOC on my personal residence, and B, I used a hard money lender. You guys know what a hard money lender is? So hard money lenders basically are asset-backed lending. They don't look at your personal finances. You do have to personal guarantee the loan, but you do end up you can identify an asset, and then they'll finance it based on the LTV of that asset. So I started working with hard money lenders back in 2014, and they're really expensive. So I was paying about 12% interest and 2 points per loan and it was also a short, like 5-month loan term. So if your rehab, God forbid, like went longer and you're not able to sell the property, there was always a point of extension fees. So super expensive. Then what I did was, once I had enough experience under my belt, like even you, like if you have like 3 or 4 deals under your belt, you can start shopping around and going to different hard money lenders and like really getting different pricing on them. And so when I started shopping, I was able to find some out of state hard money lenders that were much, much more competitive. So I dropped the interest rate to 9% and maybe like 0.75 percentage points on my loan. Then in 2017, I met these 2 guys that came to me and said, hey, we want to build a hard money lending company, and we want to like completely revolutionize it and just have it be very tech forward. Because like, applying for a loan can really suck the joy out of your life. It just takes forever. You have to give them so many different documents. And so when I met these two guys, I was really excited about the whole concept for how easy they were going to make it. And so I became like their first adopter. I became their first investor, and they basically modeled this company to suit my business. Um, and so what we ended up doing was built out this hard money lending company, and basically now sorry, now I have my 4-year-old son in the back who just came back from school, who's gonna hang out with us, I guess. So we built out this hard money lending company. I will be right back. Give me 1 second. Jordan, take it away.
Yeah, no problem. Along with hard money, one thing I would say is local RIAs. Go there, connect with people. They usually always have funding sources. You could potentially find private money there, multiple hard money lenders. I just recently in Columbus got connected with a local bank that is going to do a rehab and refinance all in one loan. So I thought that was a pretty cool program, and I'm working with them right now to secure that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of avenues that you can go for funding.
Hi, sorry, I'm back. Yes, so then ended up building this hard money lending company out. It's called Certain Lending. They're based out of San Francisco, and they make it so easy because once they have all my documents, then the next project that comes along, they're just able to like basically look at the PSA and start the financing process. So and much more reasonable pricing too. Like I think I can get a loan now for about 8% and 1 point, which is way better for hard money than some of the other lenders I've used in the past at 12% and 2 points. So so check them out. They're a good lending company, and I think they operate out of 48 different states, 42 states maybe. Yeah. Great question, Ryan. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I guess I'll ask just kind of a general question. So it seems like you've done a lot of different strategies as far as fix and flip, buy and hold, and development. So when it comes to something that maybe you're not too familiar with, say like a development project, how do you kind of set yourself up for that? Is it just networking with the right people, bring on the right teammates? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, another great question, right? So oftentimes I don't buy something in order to make it a development play or a fix and flip, or a BRRRR play, but it just becomes that way because that's the highest and best use of that project. And so the best thing that I can do is network. I honestly go to my network with all my questions, and there's nothing that my network can't help me with. In our local market, we have a Facebook group, and we have 10,000 investors on that group. One of the best groups that I've been a part of. And any question I have, whether it's, hey, I need a land engineer, or how do I set up an HOA, or how do I bring in, like, I need a horizontal utility company, I am able to go to my network and say, okay, who's done this and who can help me with it? Because nothing like drawing from experience, right? If you have a crazy project and your basement's flooding, who are you going to go to get that fixed? And so just, go reach out to your local Facebook groups. Matt just posted a link to their Facebook group. I mean, that is honestly the best way to get out and be like, hey, I'm looking for a duplex. I'm looking for my first investment deal. I'm looking for someone to partner with. And always, the other thing too is when you are going out with an ask, make sure you're also adding value. Like I'm like, hey, if anybody wants to do a walkthrough of my latest subdivision, like come meet me at this time and I'll walk you through how I did it, right? So just add value to someone else, and then someone else can always take care of you. So your network, honestly, is your net worth. And as cliched as that sounds, that has what has helped me grow my business. And then the other thing too that I'm going to speak to about that point is I started a networking group just like this one, for the local Seattle market back in 2018. And through COVID, what we did was we obviously had to convert that into a Zoom meeting. And now we do it once a month, and we have some amazing speakers, and we have people from all across the world join us, like literally across the world. On my last meetup, we had people from Germany, New Zealand, um, India, Poland, right? So it's really fascinating to see that, yes, this has been one of the worst times of our lives, but at the same time, there are silver linings, and it's kind of brought all of us so much closer together because we're able to do this. Like I'm able to talk to all of you. None of you are in Seattle, but yet I'm sitting in Seattle trying to talk to you guys. So, and it's made possible because of the use of telecommunication, which we would not have discovered if it wasn't for a global phenomenon. So, and this is the best time to network with people outside of your area because it's just possible to do that. Everybody's still at home. Once things start to open up, it's going to be that much harder to pin people down. So thank you for that question, Jordan. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
question
So
for
what?
you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I wanted to know like what made you make that change from the W-2 job. I don't know if you've already said it or not, but I'd like to know like what it took for you to realize that you don't need your W-2 job anymore.
Yeah, that's a great question too. So I worked at Nordstrom corporate, and I really loved my job. Like I had worked, and if you don't know Nordstrom corporate, like let me tell you a little bit about it. It's basically a retail department chain. We have 116 stores across the country. So there's 50,000 people that work on the sales floor. Now, these 50,000 people are all vying to be in corporate Nordstrom. And corporate Nordstrom is comprised of 3,000 people that have all worked really hard, have grown from within to get there. And so that's kind of what I did. I was at Nordstrom for 7 years, out of which 2 years out of the seven, I worked on the sales floor. And then I finally ended up finding a job in corporate and moving to corporate. And so anybody in the company would have killed to have my job. So you think, okay, why would you then move out of there, right? Honestly, it was just this love for being entrepreneurial and wanting to build a legacy. And every day that I sat at my job, I was like, man, I am not helping anybody here. I am making someone else really wealthy. But what am I doing for my own kids and my own family? And how am I growing here? Right? Like I was a really hard worker. I would start work at 7:30 in the morning. I wouldn't leave till about 6 p.m. at night. And so I was like, what if I took the same energy and put it towards something where I would build a portfolio or build, and honestly, at that time, I was just like, okay, focused on what is it that I can do today rather than I'm going to build a portfolio. And so at that same time, we had just built our own residence with a builder, and I'd gotten really excited about the whole like construction process and just real estate in general. And I said, okay, let me explore that. And I joined a course. It's the Fortune Builders course. And I got a really good foundation for the basics of real estate investing. What is a fix and flip? What is a BRRRR? Tax strategies. And so that's kind of what got me excited about it. what I really did want to do is new construction. And so far, it's been 8 years and I haven't done a single ground up, which I feel like is so much easier than doing land development or fix and flip, which is funny. But yeah, I ended up doing a fix and flip first because I needed to get, like, I basically needed to create some kind of active income. And with new construction, that was going to take 2 years versus a fix and flip, which would take about 5 to 6 months. And that's kind of what got me started. And my first flip too, I didn't intend it to be like such a big reno. I thought it was just going to be a quick in and out. But what happened was it just ended up being much larger than I thought it was going to be. And since then, most of my projects have been full gut renovations. And those are the only kind of renos I do now.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, how are you finding your deals today?
Because I've been doing this a long time now, I have a really good set of wholesalers. So when I first started out, I did some direct mail campaigns. And soon I realized that, man, I am really bad at talking to sellers and convincing sellers to sell their homes to me. Like, that was not my strong suit. My strong suit was really, talking to like-minded people, explaining my strategy, and then buying deals that they had. So then I started talking to a lot of wholesalers and started buying deals from wholesalers. So I have literally bought, I want to say 60% of my deals from the same wholesaling company. And even today, like, I buy most of my deals through wholesalers, networking, meetups. Like I said, I bought my last deal off of a virtual networking event, but they're mostly wholesalers and real estate brokers that bring me my deals. Are any of you buying deals differently? I'd love to hear.
So, for the larger projects that you're doing, so like 100 plus units, how are you finding those? Is that like a different process, or is it the same type of thing?
So the larger project is one that I'm partnering on, and the operators found it through their off-market relationships with brokers. Same, once you have good credibility and you're able to say that you're going to do something and actually do it. Say you're going to buy a property and actually close on it. Say you're going to fix it up and actually fix it up. You're just going to increase your credibility and your visibility. And so, you're able to make those stronger relationships. But yeah, they're mostly off market because I feel like the on market deals have very little meat on the bones. So it's just tougher to make those deals work, especially at this time. So most of the deals that I buy are off market. And also, you guys, like, I take really good care of my wholesalers. I offer them a list back. I pay huge assignment fees. I just bought a flip and I paid a $75,000 assignment fee, plus a 3% list back, because the deal still works. Even if I'm paying them a high price, I can still make the deal work and I can still make a 6-figure profit. So that's why, like, going with experienced wholesalers that can find these off-market deals at a really good price is important. What other questions do you have for me?
So yeah, since you've done quite a few flips, leading up to now, do you kind of have your own crew of construction people, GCs, that you kind of go to for each one?
Yeah. So yeah, I do have a few different crews. I have one crew that does the more like mid-level flips and rehabs, and then I have another crew that does the more high-end stuff. And the way that I find my crew, or the way that I have found my crew, and I've worked with, I worked in this business for a long time, and I worked with 7, 8 different crews. Um, I like to work with the same crew for 10, 12, 15 projects if we can last. Um, and the reason is that you just invest so much time and effort getting to know someone, and they getting to know you and your work ethic, that it's important to nurture that and grow that. The crew that I work with right now, I have worked on, I think, with 17 different deals, and they've been amazing, and they take care of me and I take care of them. Now, the way that this is a pro tip, the way that I find my crew is through my subcontractors. So, say, like, I worked with my electrician, my plumber for about 5 years now, and say I need a crew for a specific project, I actually reach out to my electrician and I'm like, hey, Carlos, I'm looking for a contractor to work in this specific area. Like, who have you worked with that you have really enjoyed working with? And so, like, he'll put me in touch with some of the contractors that he works with, or my plumber, or my HVAC guy. Like, these are the people that bring me, honestly, the best crews to work with. So go out there and find these like subcontractors that like working with the larger contracting teams. Another way that I found good crews is just by pulling building permits from the city. Like, if there's construction happening around where you want to find your crew, I would just go to the building permit department and see what construction's going on. And then if you look at the permit numbers, you can see who pulled those permit numbers, who the builder is, and just directly contact that contractor and be like, hey, I have a project in the area that you're working in. Can you come give me a bid? And really just get to know each other.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. I know recently I saw a property listed in the same neighborhood as one of mine, and I just contacted the agent and
Right.
just told her, up front, hey, I'm not looking to buy this property, but I saw you guys did a really good job in the rehab. Is there any way you can introduce me to the contractor? And
Right.
she gave him my number. In 30 minutes, he called me. So that's also
Yeah.
another way.
Yeah, it's also a good way to vet them, right? Because you've seen their work and you know that they've done a good job. And that's a better resume than someone telling you in a coffee shop that they do great work.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other questions? Have any of you done a BRRRR where you buy a project and then you renovate to add equity, and then the bank refinances all of your money out, and you're into the property with no money, and you're able to rent it out in cash flow, and your renters pay part of your mortgage and your rent? Okay, so I'll give you an example of a property that I just did. I bought a fourplex off market for $625K. And it was not super rough, but it was rough. And I wanted to really up the standard of the property because the neighborhood deserved that. And so we put in about 175K and did all new landscaping, lots of updates to the units. So we did new electrical, new plumbing, new countertops, cabinets, carpet, flooring, did it all. And the units turned out really nice. And then now the bank sent in an appraiser to appraise the property, and it appraised at 1.25 million, which means they were going to give us about 75% of that for the loan, which means they gave us about 800K or 825, I want to say, or 850. Sorry, it was 850. And we had been into the property for about 800K. So the bank essentially paid us out all the money that we invested. So we were into it for $0, and we were only into it for our equity, our sweat equity. The property is now rented for $17.80 per unit, which, I don't know, do the math, like about $7,200. And our PITI is about 4K, and that includes property management. So it's principal, interest, taxes, insurance, property management. And we cash flow about $3,000 a month for a property that we have zero money in. So that's a BRRRR strategy. And if you're just starting out, like those are the deals that you want to look for. So anything that you can buy at a 60 to 65% value. So if your property after being fully fixed up is worth 100 grand, like you want to try and get it for like 60 to 65K. And that would make a great BRRRR. Any questions on that?
That sounds awesome. I know I'm currently in the process of working a BRRRR, so hopefully my deal will turn out something like that.
Yeah. I mean, this is like my 6th or 7th BRRRR. And the first time I did it, it was like a small single family home in Tacoma, Washington. And if you don't know Tacoma, it is rated as one of the best places to live in the US, or to buy investment property in the US. And so I bought this single family home in 2017 for 125K, put in about 20,000 into it. And then the bank appraised it for 220 or 250. And they gave me $10,000 out of a cash out refinance. They gave me 10K to hold on to this property. And it's been cash flowing $800-900 a month since then. And so it's pretty amazing and then of course the property has appreciated in value and is now worth about 400K. Yeah. So any other questions?
Yeah, so I guess I'll ask a question to kind of lead this more towards multifamily. For the partner that you've recently chose, what made you decide to go with them, and kind of how do you vet your sponsors when you're going into multifamily deals, whether you're GPing with somebody or you're coming in as an LP?
Yeah, that's a great question. It has honestly taken me a long time to find a good operator to work with. For me, it's a lot to do with credibility. It's their ability to work every day and solve problems. And a lot of operators just give up or try to take the easy way. With these operators, they found this deal. It's a large deal, $30 million deal, right? So everything has to be like, have all their checks. Now, my investor pool or people that actually invest, all my investors are extremely savvy, tech forward, either doctors or engineers. So they have some tough questions. And every time we put out a deal and they ask me those questions, I go back to the operator and I say, okay, these are like 15 questions that you need to answer to from my investor's perspective. And the way that they answer those questions gives me the confidence of either moving forward or not. And it really helps when an operator knows their deal backwards, that they can answer all these questions. So, finding good people that have a great track record is important. Someone with good experience, that's important. Who are their other sponsors? Who are their other, who's part of the GP team? How much due diligence did they put in? How do they underwrite the deal? How do they asset manage the deal? These are all things that make a really good operator. And you're only going to know a good one from a bad one once you start interviewing them and asking them the tough questions. Okay, so Kwame asked a question. What is the difference between a GP and an LP? A GP is a general partner and LP is a limited partner. A GP is the active investor, someone that finds the deal, someone that vets the deal, someone that underwrites, asset manages the deal. Basically, he's the operations guy. An LP is your passive investor that all they're doing is bringing the money. So they're like the money partner and the GP is everything else. And I hope that clears that up. So going into Ryan's question, have you ever bought a property and just demoed it and started over with new construction? No, I haven't built it. Like I haven't demoed and then done ground up construction, but I did once. This is a funny story. I mean, funny now, it wasn't funny then, but I bought this, I bought this property. I was under contract. So I hadn't bought it yet, but I was under contract. And it's this beautiful neighborhood in Seattle called Kirkland. And that's where Costco is headquartered, for those of you that don't know Kirkland. But I bought this single family house. I was under contract. And literally 3 days before we closed on it, my broker gets a call from the other broker and says basically the house had burned down. And this was just going to be a cosmetic reno, but this house had literally burnt down. So like the roof, everything had caught on fire. Someone put a gas canister on the back deck that blew up and blew the roof off. I mean, that is like next level crazy. So my broker said, okay, you have two options. You can either walk away from this deal, we'll give your earnest money back, or we can wait for insurance to kick in, have them do all of the, insurance work. So like basically stripping out all the drywall, all the burned parts of the home, and really just taking it down to the studs and giving back the house to me. And then I would have to fix it up like as if it was brand new construction. And of course, I wanted a challenge. And I said, okay, I've never done this before, so let's do it. And I ended up fixing this house from the ground up. So it didn't involve building the four walls, but it involved everything else. So everything from getting brand new roof trusses to brand new composite shingles to insulation, complete hardwiring of electrical, plumbing, moving all the windows, off and like making them all egress, and then the rest of it. But it was a really cool project that taught me so much. And that is much harder to do than if you were to just build from scratch. Because building from scratch, you get a plan and then your builders can build to spec. But working in the confines of an existing home and trying to create meaningful floor plans from there is much harder. So, Ryan, good question. Any other questions? Okay, so I can tell you guys how to get a hold of me, how to reach me. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. I know we're coming up on the hour now. And Jordan, you guys do breakout rooms?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. So just find me. I'll type in my name. Connect with me there and feel free to send me your questions. I'm happy to answer them offline. Maybe show you some of my projects. It's always fun to walk people through my projects. And if you're ever in Seattle, do reach out to me because I'd love to see you in person.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I will get the breakout room started.